Hi, this is Aaron Fuller, and this is my final presentation for Intro to Policing. And I chose it to do on the song by Toby Keith and William Nielsen, Beer for My Men, Whiskey for My Men, Beer for My Horses. What it's about is two detectives, and the primary role of a detective is to maintain order and protecting life and property. And the secondary goal is preventing crime, arresting and prosecuting offenders, recovering stolen and missing property, assisting the sick and injured, enforcing non-criminal regulations, and delivering services not available elsewhere in the community. That's the primary roles of a police officer slash detective. In the movies, they seem like two separate roles, but really they're not. Um, in the song, it talks about how the detectives are trying to capture a serial killer, and they use the Managed Criminal Investigations, or the MCI tool, and they use the solvability factors. The part of the MCI is the expanding role of the police officers to include investigation responsibilities, and they need to also have manage criminal investigations as well. In the song, you do see all the factors of the solvability being used, and that's: were there any witnesses? And is a suspect known? Can a subject be identified? Is there a vehicle description? Is there physical evidence? Will the complainant cooperate with the investigation and can properly be identified? And you do see that in the music video that all of those are being used. But I do want to let you know that it starts out with a reporter reporting of a crime of a prostitute being murdered, and the two detectives are on the crime scene and they're trying to build a profile on the serial killer and they can't get it put together. So they end up calling Toby Keith's father, who was an investigator as well, for help, and he agrees to help them. And so throughout the whole movie, you see them all working together, profiling all the paperwork that's behind the scenes, trying to put the clues together. Then they're out interviewing people, trying to find witnesses, trying to find clues. And then they finally get a big break and find out what the guy's pattern is, what the serial killer's pattern is. And they eventually catch the guy by going undercover. Even though he becomes a fugitive, they still are able to capture the guy and put him in jail. The song lyrics are, this is how the song lyric goes, and this is a perfect example. It says, well, man, come on, it's 6 o'clock news. Somebody's been shot, somebody's been abused, somebody blew up a building, and somebody stole a car, somebody got away, and somebody didn't get too far. These are all perfect examples of main crime that are happening right now in America. Somebody's been shot, there's always someone getting shot, injured, shooting people. Somebody's been abused, domestic disturbances that happen all the time. And guys beating up kids, beating up their wives, wives beating up husbands. You see that all the time. Somebody blew up a building, terrorist attack, definitely. Somebody stole a car, which is grand theft. Somebody got away, which is a fugitive on the run from the cops. And then somebody didn't get too far as the cops caught him. The second part says, Grandpappy told my pappy back in my day, son, a man had to answer for the wicked thing that he done. Take all the rope in Texas, find a tall oak tree, round up all them bad boys, and hang 'em high enough in the street for all the people to see. Now, back in the early days in the 1800s, if you committed a crime such as robbery, murder, anything like that, the crime was death. The penalty was death, and so they would hang you for everyone to see for punishment, so then you wouldn't want to do the same thing either. Texas was actually the first state in 1835 to have Texas Rangers, and Rangers were the local police force at that time, like sheriffs and stuff, that would take care of that. And then it went over to Arizona and New Mexico as well. And then Texas was actually the first state in 1845 to have the actual police force instituted in the state, which I thought was pretty cool. Continuing with the song, it says, and justice is the one thing you should always find if you gotta saddle up your boys, you gotta draw a hard line. When the gun smoke settles, and we'll sing a victory tune, and we'll all meet back at the local saloon. So it's just talking about how, being a police officer, you can't let feelings get involved, because if feelings get involved, you're not able to do your job. You just have to go ahead and put on your game face, and you gotta get the job done. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes you have to kill a person, because if they're firing back at you, it's self-defense. You have to get things done and taken care of. And so then they're just saying that once you got the bad guy and put him away in jail, then you're able to go ahead and celebrate because you got the job done. The last part of the song I want to discuss is, we got too many gangsters doing dirty deeds, too much corruption and crime in the streets. It's time for the long arm of the law, put a few more in the ground, send them all to the maker, and he'll set them down. You can bet he'll set them down. That's just talking about some more crimes that happen. We got too many gangsters doing dirty deeds. That's talking about gang-related incidents that happen all the time. For an example, here recently in Portland, where they're saying that the 4 students that were shot at the Portland High School was gang-related. It was like an initiation where they drove by and just shot 4 innocent students, which is horrible. Too much corruption and crime in the streets. It's just talking about all the crime that's on the news. You can pull up your phone, instantly look on the news, and see all the crime that's happening in Idaho and anywhere else. And then the most important one is it's time the long arm of the law, put a few more in the ground, send them all to the maker, and you can bet he'll set them down. To me, that's talking about the death penalty for those crimes that deserve the death penalty. Murder, serial killers, rapists, all of that. For an example, I have a friend named Crystal Searles. You can Google her. She's all over the internet. She survived a serial killer, and when she was 12 years old, she was staying at a friend's house and was in the room where her friend Katie Hurst was murdered by a guy that they knew. And no one ever suspected him. He was married, had 4 kids, had a very good job, and he broke into the house, killed Katie, and saw that Crystal was on the top bunk and went over and sliced her throat. And then he left, and thinking everyone else in the house was dead, she fled the scene of the crime and she went to the neighbor's house and almost died herself, but they were able to go ahead and recover her. And as soon as she was up, she was ready to talk and get him taken care of. And within 24 hours, she was able to identify who the person was, which is Tommy Lynn Sells, and they were able to arrest him. And the unique thing about that was when they arrested him, he actually said, "Finally, it is over." And so when they got him back into interrogation to see what he was talking about, he didn't even want a lawyer. He just spilled the beans and told them everything. And he said that over the last 3 decades, he had killed at least 20 people that he can think of. And he was under the radar the entire time. And so it's just mind-blowing. And finally, last year, he was actually put to death by the state of Texas from the death penalty. And so it's just one less thing that you have to think of. So I highly recommend for everyone to listen to the song. I'm going to attach the music video as well, because the music video displays everything that the police force does as well, especially when there's an ongoing investigation. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.